Hey everyone, it's Mary from SVG Cuts, and I'm here today with a brand new structure. I'm really happy with this. I think it's really cool. I love it. I love the whole train station idea. I grew up in a town with a train station, and I love the idea of the whole vibe of it. It can be so cozy, especially in the winter. And this obviously has a Christmas theme, but you could certainly make it with no theme at all or a different season if you wanted to. It's a lot of fun to emboss with the brick texture and then to bring that out with the ink pads, which I'm going to show you here in just a moment. I think that really takes it to the next level and makes it really, really special. So if you want to paper craft with your cutting machine and you want to make something amazing and have a really fun time making it, I think this is going to be perfect. We have a lot of really popular structures such as Mistletoe Manor, the Silent Night Church, and Balsam Manor, and those are some of our most popular designs with customers. If you've made one before, you'll have to leave a comment and let us know, and I think that you're really going to love adding this to your structures collection. You can make it this year, you can make it in future years, and you could have a lot of fun gifting it, displaying it, what have you. So the roof comes off, and there's some lights inside, there's some roof supports, there's beams. It's detailed. I feel like it strikes the balance between detailed enough to look really special, but not so complicated that it's no longer fun to make. So I think it's really fun to make. We're going to take that step by step right here in just a moment, and you can see exactly how to do that. So when it comes to picking out the colors and the papers that you want to use, I would definitely suggest that you take a look at the PDF menu document that comes in your download. It shows all the shapes and helps you see where everything's going to be going. So if you want to deviate from the paper colors that I've used, you can certainly do that, and that'll help you with that. There's also some diagrams in there that are going to be helpful. And don't forget, during this video, if you ever want to pause it and you're watching it on a computer, you can just hit the space bar and it pauses it. And then hitting the space bar again will unpause it. So I think if you're crafting along with the video, that's going to be really, really helpful if you did not know that. Also, in the description of this video here on YouTube, you can click on Read More to see more, and then there's a long list of every single step in this project. So if you want to jump directly to something such as making the chimneys, inserting the chimneys, adding the roof panels, putting the walls together, whatever you want to jump to or jump back to, I've made it extra easy for you to do that, so hopefully that comes in handy too. You'll have to let us know. So I was heavily inspired by a train station called Oakworth Railway Station in England. I saw it on in some pictures online, and I sort of modeled the front of this after that quite a bit. And it's in a movie called The Railway Children, which I watched the new Railway Children a couple times, and it's special to me, just the quaintness and the beauty of it, and how old it is. It's really cool. So you could certainly make this with the brick walls being a medium brown color, and then inking that with some browns. I've inked this with some brown and some silver on the pink brick, and that really makes it look extra special. I also did some inking on the wood beams, and I had a lot of fun with embossing and everything. So if you make one, you'll have to share a picture with us on social media. I always love to see, and I can't wait to see the very first couple of Carolers Cove train stop projects come in. It's going to be really exciting. The first thing I'm going to do is emboss my wall panels, and I have them all here in no particular order. So this is an optional step. If you're making yours just like mine and you want to add the brick texture like I did, then now is the time to emboss these. So to do that, I'm going to use my Sizzix Big Shot embossing machine here. It looks like this. It's kind of an older model, but it works just the same. And lots of different embossing machines use the same embossing folders. So I'm going to set mine up the way that it works here, which is just like this. The folder that I'm going to be using is by Sizzix. It's a brick embossing folder, and this one is extra thick. So I've taken away one of the plates in my machine, and I'm going to position my piece right at the bottom, because this probably doesn't really matter that much, but I want my pieces to sort of line up on the sides. And as you can see, there's some nice brick texture on this piece. So I'm going to go ahead and do that for all of the wall panels. I do have some additional wall panels here that I've cut out of patterned paper, and I'm not going to be adding a texture to those. This piece is a little too big to fit inside the folder entirely, but I'm still just going to run it through, lined up at the bottom, and I'll just run it through a second time. Still lined up at the bottom. And unfortunately, it'll just get embossed twice. The piece might get a little more fragile, but we will figure it out. Yeah, see it cracked right there, and it's a little skewed. But once we glue it on, it's going to be all right. And here goes the final piece through for its second time. And there we have it. Next, I'm going to be using some ink pads to add some realism and enhance the texture of the brick. And I'm using these, which I got from Amazon, and I've linked in the comments, or in the caption rather, as well as on the product page for this design. I'm going to be using this silvery color here and this sort of light medium brown color here. So I'm going to take this lighter brown color and ink around the edges of my shape. I'm going to go a little heavier at the bottom. And then I'm going to lay it down and carefully go up with it. So that really makes it look extra cool. Then I'm going to take this silver color and I'm going to go down on it, just like that. So that's how I've inked every single wall panel with the brick texture, and I'm going to go ahead and do that with all of them. These last two pieces are a little tricky since they're so delicate. But we'll just be a little extra careful. Maybe yours did not rip. Especially if you're using a less, if you're using a different texture, a different embossing folder, then perhaps they stayed intact, because this one is like extra textured that I used, and I feel like it has a tendency to do a little more damage to the pieces. Next, I'll put those aside and do some inking on the rest of the wall panels, which in my case are these patterned, mostly patterned paper choices. So this is optional, but it's something that I like to do with a lot of my projects, especially on patterned panels, patterned paper panels. I think it looks really nice. This is a trick that I learned at a place called Archivers, which was a scrapbooking and crafting paper store that used to be near me, that is no longer around. I went there with my mom a long time ago to do a Valentine craft, and they had us just use a brown ink pad and rub it around the edges of some pieces, and I just really liked the effect. So I feel like you could do brown for everything as just like a go-to, especially if you just wanted to just choose one, make it straightforward. However, I also really like to take the color that the dominant color in the patterned paper and use that color ink on the edges of the piece. So what it does is it kind of creates like a vignette effect and just sort of finishes off the edges, and I just think it looks really, really nice. It looked nice before, but I think it looks extra nice. It also kind of hides that white edge, not that it matters, but it just gives it an even more finished look. And this ink pad is brand new, so I kind of have a little more on there than I really need, but it's fine. So I'm going to go ahead and do all of the red pieces here with this red ink pad. And this is from the same ink pad that had that medium light brown that we just used. And you can get as detailed with this as you want. You can even do an additional color, like I could take this darker brown one and just do a thin edge here, which is kind of hard to see for some reason. Oh, it's kind of hard to see, but there we go. It just makes it look even more kind of antiqued and even more, what's the word? Detailed in a good way. So I like that. That looks really nice. I'll just keep using this brown for this. I could use the green on it. I could use the brown, whatever you are inspired to do. It's kind of fun. And I think that just looks really, really nice. It's something I've been doing on almost every single one of my projects. And I used to use ink pads by a company called Colorbox. Or was that they were Colorbox Cat's Eye ink pads. And they sadly were discontinued. And that was my huge go-to. And for a while, I wasn't sure what to use instead until these came out, which are available on Amazon. I think they might be like directly from China or something. But they're color petal ink pads, as you can see in the description too, the direct link to Amazon. So I went ahead and invested in a couple of these bundles because it's a technique that I really, really like. For me personally, if I don't ink the patterned panel shapes on a project, it just kind of, it's a little it's just a little less finished and special to me personally. So again, it's optional, but that just really looks really good. It just has that extra factor where someone who's looking at it might not really pick up on the edges being inked per se, but it gives it that extra oomph of making it super special. And again, you can get as detailed as you want with that. Now for these, I think I might grab this gray one. Or actually, this one. This one would be perfect. Just a little something there. It's nice. I will even do it for these guys, just very delicately. And finally on this. So if you want, you can go a little darker at the bottom. Kind of makes it look a little more weathered, possibly more dimensional, like there's a shadow sort of down there. Now I've got my stack of wall pieces here, and as you can see on some of them, your machine will have cut a number into the bottom, and you don't have to do this, but I am going to darken that in with a pen so it's easier to see in this video. So I'm just going to make a stack of each piece that has a number on it. The others I'm going to set aside. I'm going to go ahead and put them in order, even though it doesn't quite matter that much. And then once they're in order, I will start folding them. Okay, so 1 through 9 here. I will start with piece number 1. So I'm just going to fold along each score line. Just like this. And you could just go like this, but I would like to grab my bone folder just to make an extra nice crease. So some pieces have, there's 2 little lines here. That's not a fold line, that's just a guideline. So if you see that on yours, We can skip folding it. And this fold line, as you can see in the PDF, is a valley fold. This is also a valley fold, as well as this one.
Next, I'm going to spray some glimmer mist on my darker greenery, and you could certainly get creative and do whatever you want. I'm going to skip these because they're going to be in the background. I think that the having the lighter color in the back kind of makes the dark pop from behind a little bit, and this glimmer mist sort of makes these curl up a little bit, which will create some dimension. So that's just personally what I decided I'm going to do. But you can, of course, do whatever you'd like with glitter, what have you. I think I've probably had this for about 15 years, and I just checked and they do still sell it. Mine is getting a little leaky, but I have to shake it up first, and I'm not sure why it's sort of leaking all over out of the top, but I will just spray this right on. So I'm going to start with that so it has a little time to dry before we're ready to put it on. I will set that aside and get out my door pieces here. And the door is made up of these shapes, and there are two of them that are identical. And I will just do a little bit of inking on the door panels here, as well as on this cement colored piece here. So for that, I will use this ink pad set again. And I will use this color just around the edges here, a little heavier at the bottom, perhaps. And just repeat for the other piece. Next, I'll use this dark brown ink pad on these 4 door panels. Again, a little heavier at the bottom, I think looks nice. Next, I'll be using my favorite glue to start assembling the doors. And this is all the same glue, it just has different packaging depending on where you buy it and when you bought it. The glue is available from Amazon, Michael's, Hobby Lobby, probably other places too. And I just like it because it dries pretty quick and dries clear, although a little shiny, and it's easy to find. And the precision nozzle is also fantastic. A lot of people ask me about the glue, so I wanted to be sure to fully describe it. And a lot of people like other kind of glue, such as a popular other glue that people like that seems to be pretty similar is art glitter glue, which I have some of, but I just haven't managed to break away from my trusty Scotch Quick Dry tacky glue, or adhesive as they call it. So it dries clear, but it dries shiny. So if you get some on the front of your project, I think it's best to clean it up before it dries. Otherwise it looks kind of shiny, which is not the end of the world, of course, but that's my 2 cents. That's my 2 cents on the glue. So I'm going to start by gluing this onto the brown piece. And then this will go right on the front there. So there's that. You can certainly get as creative as you want with the inking and the embellishments, obviously the colors, the pattern papers. For example, I think I might actually take this dark brown ink pad again and maybe just kind of do this here. It's kind of a cool effect on the bottom. So next, these 2 will get glued here, just like this, and then that will get glued right in the center, flush with the bottom, just right there. So the way that I like to clean up my glue if it gets a little messy is by using a straight pin that I keep handy while I'm working. And you can usually just scrape it right off if you want to be a super perfectionist with your project. And you can go ahead and make the other door the same exact way. Next, for the 4 lanterns, they look a little intimidating since they're so small, but I recently started doing a little trick using an X-Acto knife to put behind the fold line. For example, there's a fold line right here, which you can see probably better in person, but holding the X-Acto knife back there makes it much easier as opposed to trying to fold it just with your fingers, since it is so delicate and small. So I'm going to do that for all the fold lines, and I'm going to go over them with a bone folder. Some of them are a valley fold, which we'll do at the end. But this method is much, much easier than trying to do it without. My X-Acto knife is not super sharp either, so perhaps yours is also not too sharp, because then, of course, you don't want to cut yourself or the paper. Well, I suppose we don't have to wait till the end of this to fold these the other way. There's that. So especially with this type of a fold here, the X-Acto makes it a lot nicer, or easier rather, and nicer. Much easier. Now I can get my glue going and glue this together. Okay. So here we can also use the X-Acto to press that closed. Much better than trying to do it just with your hands and your fingers. So again, I will just use this on the inside to squeeze those two together while the glue dries. And you can go ahead and make all 4 of your little lanterns. For our window trim, we have a pair of double windows. Then we have 2 that are the same size. And then there's one that's a little bit taller than those 2. Then the other parts of the windows are the vellum. This will be going on the inside of your project. So we're not going to glue it on yet, but I will match it up with what it goes with. Then we have this cement colored part. These 2 are the same. They go with these. This goes with this, and that with that. And then the window frame, only the very inside of it shows through, but I will match them up with what they go with here. These 2 are the same, and then this one is the same. So I will stack these on top of the vellum, just so they're grouped the way they're gonna go. And next I'm gonna do a little bit of inking on the cement layer. So I will just pull this out of each one. And get my ink pad out. Which is gonna be this one here. Oopsies. I feel like I could go with this or that or this. I think I'm gonna choose this one. So I'm not going to bother with the inside, although you could. I'm going to go a little heavier on the bottom. And just like that. So I'll do that for the other 3 pieces here. Next, we can glue together some parts of the windows, which will be, this will get glued on top of this, and we want to carefully center everything so that it's centered. And then I will glue this on top, carefully centered. And then we'll just lay it with its vellum to glue on to the walls in a little bit. So I'll just match these up, and then I'll glue the 3 layers of each window frame together. Just clean that up a little bit there. Next I'm going to stamp on some little signs. This one goes on the front on the right side. This one goes on the back. And then I have one from over on the roof, which I will go ahead and stamp now since I'm stamping. I did not ink this guy yet, which I will do just lightly with this pretty light brown pad. The stamps that I'm using is Christmas Flora by Cartabella Paper Company. And I've already got the Noel one here on my inky stamp block that I literally never wash because I just don't seem to, it's not a problem for me. I should be one of those people that keeps their stamp block clean, but I'm not. So I'm going to stamp this right there. And then on this one, I'm going to do this. Although, let me check something. So this one actually goes like this. It's not a perfect square. We want it to be going the wider way. This is wider. You could probably grab something to measure it with if you don't have a ruler nearby and just see, okay, so this goes from the D through the N. This goes not quite to the end of the N, so if you want to verify that it's wider than it is tall before you stamp on it. Otherwise, you may have to flip it over, recut it, something along those lines. Speaking of flipping it over, I do like to stamp on the reverse side of my textured cardstock. If I'm using textured paper like this, I don't like to stamp on there because it has a tendency to look a little funny and not be crisp and clear. So what are your stamping tips? Let us know in the comments. I am not a stamp expert by any means. I usually just stamp sentiments on my cards and projects, not so much coloring them in or anything fancy like that. Next there are 6 bows, and they look like this. So I'll fold this in half. It's kind of nice to crease it a little harder. And then I'll fold each score line, except these 2 in the center, I will reverse fold or valley fold. And then I'll be gluing it just like this. So it looks like this, and then this I will glue. Just like that. And then I'm going to curve it a little bit, like that. Now you can go ahead and create all 6 of your bows just like that. Next, you can refer to your PDF to see what pieces go on each wall. So I'm going to start with wall number 1 and then work my way through all 9 walls. And I've got the pieces here. I'm just going to lay them on the wall piece that they go on and then set it aside. For wall number 2, I have this piece, which I'll fix when I glue it on. Then there are 2 identical pieces that look like this, so just grab one of them. And then the 2 windows, as well as a greenery grouping, which includes one of each of those and the bow. For wall number 3, there's these 2 wall panels, the double window with the vellum, and a greenery. For wall number 4, we have this piece, a door, and 2 lanterns, as well as a greenery. Next, for wall number 5, we've got these 2, as well as this one, and these 2, and a greenery grouping. Then for wall number 6, we've got this piece, this one, this window and vellum, and a greenery. I guess this will be going there. There's one greenery bundle left, and that's going to be going on the beams if you want to put that with your beams. Finally, for walls 7, 8, and 9, I've got this here, and as you can see, there's a hole there. These are reinforcements that are going to go on the inside. We've got this panel and this panel. Then I've got some interior pieces here, and this, and this. So these two pieces are interchangeable. If you think they look better swapped around, you could certainly do that. So now let's glue together wall number 1, and then we'll work our way through all 9 of the walls. So I'll just glue this in place. Might even just use this, optional. Then I can glue the door in place. Then I can glue my lanterns in place, and they're kind of like brads in that they have the 4 tabs that go inside. Once you get them in there, I will just do one at a time. Then you can go ahead and glue your other lantern in the other spot. Next, for wall number 2, I'm going to glue the vellum on the inside on both spots, and I will just do some small dots going around, or a thin line. Just don't want it to be too thick because when the glue dries it has a tendency to wrinkle up the vellum. Next, I'm going to glue my 2 window frames right onto the front, and I'm going to position them by flipping it over after there's glue on it and making sure that it's really, really centered right in the middle there. So I'll just kind of eyeball it, flip it over, and adjust it to be perfectly centered. Well, almost perfectly. And I'll do it for the other one. Next, I'll be gluing this right onto the front. I'm trying to make sure that the glue is on the part of the texture that's sticking up towards me, that's raised up, because the glue might not really make contact if it's not on those parts. This is pretty fragile. Then I'll glue this piece on, lining it up at the bottom with the other piece. Next, I'll go ahead and assemble this greenery. And the way that I've done it, you can do it however you think it looks good, of course. But I have the darker one in the front, the lighter one in the back, and I have sort of like its arms pointing up in the back, if that makes any sense. The ones that are pointing more are going up, and then over here, they're going down. Again, you can just align it however you think looks good. That's what I decided I was going to do on all of them. And then I will glue this right onto the front here. So to make sure that all the greenery is at the same height around the house, I'm going to position it so that the bottom of the bow is just below the bottom of the white window trim there. Just like this. And then we can make sure that they're all at the same height around the house. Seems like a nice touch. Also, the bottoms of the ribbon is just above the bottom of this panel. So we can use that as our marker for making them all even. Next, for wall number 3, I'm going to glue the vellum on the back side. And then I'm going to glue the window frames on. I'm going to flip it over so I can center it as perfectly as possible. Then I can glue these two on. Next, I will glue this greenery bundle on. And I will position it centered, and then when I flatten out the bow down here, it's just above where those panels end, so that it's uniform around the whole structure. For wall number 4, I'll start by gluing this brick panel on. It's a little tedious getting the glue on there with all the texture and making sure that it's on the raised parts especially. There's probably some kind of better adhesive for something like this. You'll have to let me know in the comments if you have a better solution, like some kind of spray adhesive. Seems like it might be a good idea, but this works. Next, I'll put my lanterns in, just like I did before. Or I suppose you could do the door next. So you'll have to let me know in the comments too if you like to watch Christmas movies while you Christmas craft, because I do. Obviously not if you're following along in this video right now, probably, but otherwise, maybe when you're cutting out your pieces. One of my favorite Christmas movies is The Muppet Christmas Carol. I also love Elf, Home Alone. Who doesn't? Christmas Story is fun. So you can go ahead and put your other lantern in the same way. Next, I will glue the doorway in. Next, I'm going to glue my greenery that I've assembled the same way I did before, right onto the top. And I'm going to center it and have the bottom of the bow just about even with the bottom of the little castle looking indentations there. So approximately is fine, or just about even with the top fold line there. Next, for wall number 5, I'll glue these. These 2 wall panels right on. You can line it up in that corner there. And then I can glue this one in, and I'll be lining it up with its neighbors at the bottom. Then I'll glue this right centered there with the bottoms of the ribbon just above the bottom of this panel. For wall number 6, I'll glue this vellum piece on first. Then I'll glue my window trim on the front, but I'll look at it from the back to center it. Then I'll glue this on the front. Next, I'll glue this panel on. And I'm lining it up at the bottom with its neighbor there. Then I can glue my little sign on. And the greenery. With the bottom of the ribbon just above the bottom of the wall panel there. And next I'm going to assemble walls 7, 8, and 9. I'm going to glue these together in a stack, reinforced shapes for the wall there. Little stack of donuts. So first I'll glue these shapes on. So when your cord is going through this hole, it won't rip the paper. Next, I'll glue these pieces on to wall number 8. And just to make sure I get the positioning just right, I'm going to line this up and make sure that the bottom lines up there with its neighbor. And I'll glue these on. I think I'll go ahead and glue this to the other wall so that I can really see where to line up those panels. And I forgot to mention there are some tiny little dashes that your machine will have cut into the shape here to help you line up those parts. So I'll glue this on. And this. And I'll go ahead and glue these together too, which forms the whole back side. Next, I'm going to glue together walls 1 and 2. It's really starting to come together. This is the most exciting part, I think. So I'm just going to start by gluing this long tab in place. Just like this. This is folded, by the way. I had missed that earlier. And I could fold this now, but I'm going to keep it as flat as I can for as long as I can. I think it might be a little easier to work with that way. But if you're dying to glue this, you can. Now I'll grab wall number 3 and glue that here. And then wall number 4, which is this one. Wall number 5. Next, wall number 6 goes right here. And then this part is going to fold up inside like that. So we'll just glue this next. My panel is a little over the edge there. It's kind of blocking. Houston, we have an issue. I don't know if it's going to be a problem or just an issue, if there's a difference. I think I can just kind of force it. I should have just trimmed it. I didn't think of that until now. It'll be okay. Next, we can put glue on the inside of these 2 tabs here, and then glue it closed like this. Next, I'll glue this 7, 8, and 9 conglomeration onto this tab here. So as you can see, we've got the walls all glued together, 1 through 9. Next, I'm going to stand it up so that I can glue together this final tab here. And it's really starting to take shape, which is very exciting. Next, I'm going to be gluing my bottom pieces inside one at a time. So there's this, and there's these two, which are identical. These will be going on the 2 inside sides, and this will be going right in the middle. We're going to start with this one. So I'm going to be putting glue on 1, 2, 3 tabs and placing this inside and making sure it's lined up really perfectly as I press the glue down. And this piece is symmetrical, so it doesn't matter which way it's going. Then I will be putting glue on this long tab and carefully lining up the tab perfectly with those corners lined up perfectly as I press it down. Next, I'm going to take one of my remaining rectangles and glue that inside this side here. So I'll be putting glue on this tab, this one, and this, and putting that right in place. Next, I'll do the same with this side, although it's just a little trickier because of these 2 tabs, making sure that this is nice and straight here. Next, I'm going to glue the little mini roof over here, which is made up of these two pieces. And this gets folded like this. And then this piece, this one just is going to go right on top. It seems unnecessary, but it blocks some of the light from shining through the roof. Without it, there's too much light shining up and it looks kind of odd. So this is going to be going right inside here. Just like this. And these tabs are coming through on the inside there. So I'll put glue on all 4 of these. And then carefully slide this in. So I really want this point here to match up really nicely in the edges. It's going to make it nice and straight. Then I can put glue on these 2 tabs and affix them into place. Next, I can glue this right onto the top there. Now finally, I'm just going to join these little roof support areas, such as this one here. So I'll just put some glue on it and close it up. Next, I'll do this corner here. And this is a flat tab. And as a guideline, there's a tiny little line that your machine has cut here and here, which if you look closely, you can see. So that can help you line up the tab just right. And I'll just be working my way around the top here, joining these tabs that create the roof support. So now just about everything's joined together except for this in this corner. I'm going to go ahead and do this front part here. Front and center. And then I'm going to put some glue on this tab here and then this one here and glue those into place. Next, I'm going to glue these two tabs down, and there's a very small little guideline here that's a cut line and a cut line to help you line it up. There's also one on this side. Might be hard to see in this video or even in person, but if you look really closely, hopefully that can help you line it up just perfectly. So here we have our main structure together, all the walls, all the details, super cool. It's really coming together. I think that's the most fun part. And now for the next step. Which is the base. The flat pieces are panels, which we're going to put on at the end. So there's a lot of long skinny pieces. I'm going to set those aside. There's also this piece. I'm going to be embossing those before I put them on. And then most of the base is made up of numbered sides here. And then there are two interior support pieces, which I'll set aside too. And then there's a lot of large pieces like this. So this is the right front piece. This is the left front here. And then this piece here is going to go like this. Oh, one of my little circles didn't pop out there. So there are 2 circles here to help you see that those line up and these line up too. This will be the top of the base. So we can go ahead and glue these together just like this. So I made sure that these 2 tiny circles lined up. And the house is going to be sitting right on top of it, so if my glue is messy, I'm okay with that, except I guess up here in the front, because that will be visible. And back here. I take that back, I try not to be messy. Then I'll do the same thing over here. And I'm lining up these 3 circles here. Oh, that's the Rocking Horse box card jumping off my shelf. The ghost of Christmas past. Back where it belongs. Next I can make the bottom of the base here, and it also has some little guidelines. There's 3 squares, 3 squares, 2 squares, and 2 squares. So it's going to go together just like the top, like this. So I can just put some glue on it. So there's the bottom of our base. Next, we're going to fold up the side pieces, and your machine will have cut a number into the side of them, which can be a little hard to see in this video. So I'm going to go ahead and darken that in with a marker or a pen here, even though you don't need to do that, but I'm doing it so you can see better. So here are my pieces. I have them in order, but it doesn't really matter. So the only pieces here that are going to have a valley fold is piece 2 and piece 9. but we can do that together. All the other folds are going to be mountain folds. So you can go ahead and fold all of these up. Just like this. There will be a few that don't have a score line on the end, which is 6 and 5. Pieces 6 and 5 just have the top and bottom score lines, not this one like the rest of them do. So maybe I'll just separate those out. 6 and 5, and then 9 has a valley fold. So piece 9 has that valley fold, and then piece 5 and 6 do not get folded here. It's just a guideline to help you line them up. So you can go ahead and fold all of your base side pieces, just like that. So there's my final side piece there. And again, we've got 10, 8, 7, 6 is not folded there. 5 is not folded there. 4, 3, 2 has a valley fold. 1 is regular. And 9 has a valley fold. So normally I would glue these together side to side and then affix them to the base. But I'm going to try something a little different this time that I think is going to be a little easier and more precise. And I should have thought of this a long time ago. So first I'm going to glue this tab on here. It's going to be a lot easier because it's nice and flat. So I'm going to put glue on this. And glue that right on there. And this is piece number 1, by the way. Next, let's glue piece number 2 right here. Piece number 3. So as you can see, I'm working my way around through the sides here. And then I will glue the corners together. So have you done any of my structures before? Let us know in the comments. Or are you new to this? I'd be interested to hear. If you have made any before, tell us which one or which ones. And piece number 4. . So next for 5, 6, and 7, I am actually going to glue them together side to side first. And there's a little guideline here and a little guideline here to help you line them up nicely. So let's glue those together just like this. Next, I'm going to glue these onto the bottom here all at once. Next, I'll keep working my way around with piece number 8. And then 9 and 10 can go here and here. Now I'm going to emboss my base panels. If you're not embossing them, you can skip this step, but I would like to emboss them using a wood grain folder here. So I'm going to do that in no particular order. I'm using the Doris wood grain background embossing folder. And I think the wood grain looks nice, but really any texture is going to be a nice effect for these pieces. So I'll go ahead and do that for all of the base panels, which besides this is mostly just these long pieces. There's 2 little ones and then various sizes here. So first I'll glue this piece on, just like this. If you have it this way, it's not quite centered. It's a little too close to the edge, so we're going to glue it just like this. Next, it's easy to tell where these two go. This will go here, and this will go here underneath that flap. Now there's these remaining pieces. There's 2 shorter ones, 2 medium ones, and 4 longer ones. These 2 are going to go front center, back center, right side, left side, and then the remaining 4 spots here. So we've got front center, back center, right side, left side, and then the 4 remaining spots here. So go ahead and glue those into place. Next, I'm going to start gluing the corners together. So I'll start with this one here, and I'll work my way around the whole outside. Next, we're going to assemble and insert these 2 support boxes. They are identical, and they're going to get folded just like this. Next, we're going to glue them right on the inside in the general area of these 5 circles to let you know where they go. Next, we're going to glue the bottom on, but let's start by gluing just this tab on first. Next, I'll be putting glue on all of these tabs and folding the bottom down. But first, I'm going to make sure that they're all angled up just a little bit so that the glue can make contact. Next, I'd like to add some inking, especially to bring out the texture. I tried this one and it's not quite light enough, so I've got this 3rd ink pad set here. I'm going to use this, and hopefully, yeah, you can see that a little better. So I like the way that looks. I'm going to do the whole thing. So not only does it bring out the texture, but it kind of looks a little frosty, as if it's chilly and frosty, which is a nice touch because this has a Christmas theme. Oops. So here's my finished base. It's not perfect, but it's close enough. So next, let's take a look at the beams. We have these panels, and we have 4 that look like this. I've got some more panels here. Then I've got these structural beams, there are 4, and then 2 caps for them. So I'm going to start with the panels, and I'm going to emboss them with a wood texture. So these are all panels. However, these, 2 of them are a little smaller, 2 of them are a little bigger. You can see there's a smaller one on top of a larger one. The smaller one is the panel. So let's identify the 2 smaller ones. And I'm going to emboss these. I'm going to be using this wood grain folder by We Are Memory Keepers, but since the pieces are so slim, I'm going to have it go the long way, because I feel like if it goes this way, it might actually shorten the piece and make it really fragile. So if possible, if you're using a wood grain folder, I would suggest going that way, although it could still get a little delicate no matter what. Let's see. Very cool. So wait till we add some inking to that. So I'm going to go ahead and emboss all of the panels. See if I can fit 2 in here. Yes. Next, we're going to fold up these pieces, and then we'll affix some panels to them. So I'm just folding along every fold line, just a regular mountain fold. The bone folder is optional, but I think it really helps to have a nice, precise, crisp fold. So it's kind of like personal preference, but I'm feeling it. So I'm doing it. So go ahead and fold your other one just like that. Next we can fold one of our beams together, and then we'll do the same for all 4. It's just a mountain fold, just a plain old regular mountain fold for every fold line. So go ahead and fold the other 3 beams the same way. Next, I'm going to glue my beam panels onto these 4, but I'm going to glue them 1, 2, skip, and then 1 for each of them. So do not put a panel here, only on 1, 2, skip, and then 1. So these are all the same size, and I will just glue them on like that. Just like this. So go ahead and do the same thing for the other 3. So next we can glue these panels just here and here, and then repeat for the other set. Next, we can glue these 2 right onto here. Next, we can assemble the beams like this. So you can go ahead and assemble all 4 of them like that. Then we'll assemble these 2. So here are all my beam pieces, and what I'm going to do next is glue one of these right onto here, just like that. Next, if you want to add some inking to your beams to enhance the wood grain texture, you can. I'm going to use this dark brown and just kind of randomly apply it like so. Which looks nice and brings out the texture. You can go as heavy or as light as you want to. It definitely gives it a nice added touch. Once that dries, I might even add a second color just to make it look even more, maybe realistic. So for these, the bottom is actually going to be hidden a little bit. I was going to say I will go darker on the bottom, but this much of it's going to be hidden inside the base here momentarily. I might see how this gray also looks on here. Just a little bit here and there. I might just blend it in a little bit with this one. Kind of getting ink all over the place, but I'm okay with it. So this greenery bundle is going to go on the outside, but I think I'll wait till I put these in place to attach this. So here are all of our beam pieces. Next we can assemble these two, which go inside the structure to support the roof. So I'm just going to fold on all of the fold lines, just a plain old regular mountain fold. So you can go ahead and make the other one just like that. Next for the roof, I have the main pieces of the roof here, and there are just 4 of them. There's 1, 2, 3, 4. And they're all the fold lines are going to be mountain fold, except for 2 here on the back. This is the back, it's facing me. This is the front. And then these 2 lines here and these 2, which you can see in the PDF, and I'll also show you here. So I'm going to go ahead and fold each of these one at a time along the fold lines. And as you might have noticed, there are some guidelines to help you see what goes where. There's some shapes that match up. So it's pretty easy to tell where things are going to be going here. Just like this, once it's all folded up. So this right here is where our little sign is going to be going. So it just goes like that. So that was the left side of the roof. Now for the front of the roof. So here comes one of the valley folds here. I'm just going to get it kind of started and warmed up there and then valley fold it. So there's the other valley fold on the front piece. And the only thing left is to valley fold this small tab and this small tab. So here's the right side. There's going to be 8 fold lines. All of them will be mountain fold. I'm having a really hard time folding this paper accurately. To fold up the back, we can fold it in half. And then valley fold here. And valley fold here. And fold here. So here are the roof pieces laid out, folded. Here's the front, the back, the left side and the right side. And I'm going to glue it together on these seams and these seams here first. So there are some little guidelines here and here and here and there, as well as on this tab and this tab. Some little cut lines to help you line it up, as well as matching up these shapes, these, and these. Next, I'm going to position my roof panels, and I have two small triangles here, two shapes like this, as well as these larger shapes, which are quite obvious. These two go here, this one goes here, and this one goes here. Then it's clear to see where these go, like this, as well as these two here. So you want to make sure that these final two here are correct. I had them swapped and they don't quite fit if they're flip-flopped. So you want to double check that. So you can see in the PDF some arrows on top of this diagram in case if you're embossing a pattern on this and you want it to be going a certain direction. For example, shingles. I'm going to be embossing a shingles pattern on this and it needs to be going in a certain direction, otherwise it doesn't look right. For example, the roof slopes this way, so the shingles need to be shaped like that, going from top to bottom, as well as top to bottom, and top to bottom. So I'm going to go ahead and emboss these off camera and just get it done, and then I'll put them back on and you can see how they're going in a certain direction. Then we'll glue them on. Before I start embossing, I do have this little side roof piece here that has two roof panels that go on it. So I will go ahead and fold this in half and do a quick crease. That's going to be going on the side of the house like this, and these two rectangles will be going like this and like this. So here's my shingles embossing folder. If you have anything similar or any kind of pattern that you want to be going a certain direction, you'll want to pay attention to which way the top and bottom is. So this is the top here. So I'll put that right up in the top and put that through my embossing machine. So as you can see, there's a pretty sharp line right here. So to get rid of that, I'm going to line this up so that it's in the same spot. Kind of snaps into place. And then I will put it through, but I'll leave this edge sticking out, and that should flatten that crease out so it's not very noticeable. Well, it's still there, but it's not quite as noticeable. I actually kind of goofed up and I didn't line it up perfectly, but maybe only I will notice. I sort of did better on this one. So I totally messed this up and I did it upside down. I could recut it, but it's on the back. I'm just gonna leave it. It'll be a fun memory. So here are all of my embossed panels. This one I did upside down, but I'm just gonna glue it on, and I'm gonna go ahead and glue these all on. So now I'll just affix these two little guys, and then we can move on. Next, I'm gonna glue together some more of these seams here. This spot has a little guideline to help you line it up properly. Okay, we're getting really close here. To continue with the roof panels, we can put these two arches on. There's two like this and two like this, and these are a little bit wider. Those are going to go on the two sides, one here and one here, and then these two will be going on the front and the back. So we can go ahead and glue those on. Next, I've got some various panels that go on the roof. I know it's a little hard to see this on the white, but there's this, and then these, oops, which is gonna go like this here on this front part. Then I've got one long piece, two medium pieces, and two short pieces. And these are gonna go on the sides here, here, and here, and here. So I will go ahead and glue those on just like that. Next for the chimneys, I have one of them here. I've gone ahead and embossed some of these panels here. I did the same brick and inking as I did on the wall panels up here. I did some snowflakes with brown inking and then some shimmer paper here with some very small little texture that I did there. So if you want to do something like that with yours, you can. Then I'm going to fold all of these along their score lines. Except this one will be a valley fold. As well as this one. So again, you don't have to do the bone folder, but in this case, a nice super crisp fold line is going to be really good. And this bottom tab is also a valley fold. So you can go ahead and fold the other 3 chimney pieces the same way. For pieces 2 and 4, they have the same valley folds, and these 2 bottom tabs are also valley folds. And next we can go ahead and affix these top panels to the pieces. So they will just be going here, and here, and here, and here. Just like this. Next we can start to put these together by gluing them side to side. Now we can put our little panels in place, and these are folded valley fold, and the others are folded like this. So we can go ahead and glue these all on, just like this and like that. So here are my 2 chimneys, looking good. Now let's put them into the roof. So to do that, I'm going to bend these back inside out of the way as much as I can. So here are both of my chimneys in place. Looks really cool. Next, I'm going to fold up my roof liners, and as it says in the PDF, these are actually optional. These are for if your roof is a light color like mine is, because without them, the light from inside shines through the roof in a really distracting, kind of strange way. But if your roof is a dark color, then you probably won't need to use these roof liners. So these will be going inside the roof like this, but these are valley folds here. So this longer area is the front. It's going to be going on the inside like this. So if you could see it from inside, it would be going like this. So we will just turn this over and glue them inside. Just like this. Next we can glue the bottom of the structure to the base, lining up these two holes nicely. Next we can glue these two inside by just putting some glue on the bottom of each one. And just kind of wiggle it through until it goes through those two holes there. Next we can glue this roof piece right on here. Next we can insert these two pieces, oriented like this, into these two holes here. So I will put some glue on the bottom of each one. And then just carefully twist it and push it gently until it slides through. So you can see how it looks there. And the slope here matches the slope of the roof. We'll put the other one in. So there we have that one. Next we have these pieces here. So we're going to be gluing them just right on like that. So we'll put some glue on this and on this. And you want to make sure that the corner here, the edges are lining up. So if you want to spread your beams apart a little bit to make sure that that it's meeting up in the two corners. You can. So you want to make sure that your beams are going straight up and down and that these fold lines are lining up here. Next, I'll affix this piece. Just right on the center here. Next, we can feed our lights inside. These are the lights that I got from Amazon. I think they're about 200 little LEDs, and you can plug them in. They're warm white too, which I think makes a big difference if it's warm white instead of like the bluish light. So I'm going to feed these inside and kind of spread them out a little bit, and then it'll be time to turn it on and be amazed. So here are my lights all fed inside. It's nothing glamorous, but it's going to create a really cool effect. So here comes the roof. It's looking amazing. Super cool. I love it. Now that I have two, I might let my daughter play with this one. I love it.
So there it is, all the steps to make the new Carolers Cove train stop. I hope you have a wonderful time making it, and I cannot wait to hear all about it and to see yours. You'll have to share a picture with us on social media, whether it's Facebook, Instagram, Pinterest, TikTok. Share away, I cannot wait to see. So thank you so much for being a customer, being a fan, and for watching, and I will catch you next time. Hopefully it won't be quite as long between new projects. This one took me a little bit longer. I was actually under the weather for a while. So thanks again, and Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays.